Scene one, take one.
Hello. Okay, keep going. Hello and welcome or welcome back to What Heather Did. And I don't know if you remember, this coffee table here is what's behind me. So, if you remember, I previously, for the Clueless challenge, I had given it a denim painted look on the body, but I couldn't figure out what to do with top. And yes, that was months ago. But it's finally done. This fall, there were some rough things that happened. And then when it came to, there was also kind of a lack of motivation for anything creative. So that was a little bit tough. And I kind of had an idea what I wanted to do, but actually bringing it together was kind of tough. So it is finally done. And my dogs are barking at the chickens. It is finally done and ready to go. So I'm going to show you what I did. So I'm going to use pickets. See, I have already cut the edges to make it a little bit straighter. It won't be perfect, but it's okay. They're pickets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill pocket holes on each side to stick these together. Yeah, ish. Anyway. And they are kind of bowed. A couple are cupped, but I think it'll look okay. So in your setup, don't forget on your bit, because mine is set to 3/4, so I need to change this. It's got the little key. So we're going to come over here. Oops, I kicked the camera, sorry. And there we go. So this should be set. This part should be set so that the end of this goes to 1/2 inch. Because my pickets are usually between 1/2 inch and 5/8. And you can see right here, mine aren't exactly the same thickness, but they are closer to 1/2 inch than 5/8. So we're going to go with 1/2 inch. So I got to adjust this. And then this little piece right here should also be set to 1/2 inch. Because I'm just going to kind of screw them together just to hold it. It won't be, well, that does, there we go. Oops. Right there. That's the part I need. And then I'm just going to tighten this down. And yes, before anybody says anything, there would be better ways to make a tabletop. However, this is just a simple top to go on top of the coffee table. And here you can see I've marked my boards so I know which is which, like what order they're going in. Because I laid it out to make sure it looked good. I measured where I wanted my pocket holes to be, because I did want to make sure they were evenly spaced. And then I actually flip it over to put pocket holes on the inside or the other side, so that I'll have screws going both ways on the boards. And I measure where I want them so that all the boards end up being the same. Now, I didn't record me putting some of them together, but the way I put this together was I did them in pairs because I don't have enough clamps or anything else
to do everything separately. So I attached them in pairs, and then I was able to go back and I can just attach the pairs to each other. So this worked out really well. I'm just adding some glue here, and then I'll clamp them together and screw them together. It would be nice if I had more clamps and could make sure this was perfectly flat. Although using pickets, I don't know that that's a thing that could happen, because some of them aren't flat to begin with. But, you know, we're going to make do with what we have, and we're just going to do the best we can. And this is just to make sure, like, they stay in place while I screw them together. Like, one doesn't slip past each other. So it's staying relatively flat while I screw them together. And then I also put pressure with my hand to make sure they're staying flat on the other side. Again, more clamps would be better, but I can make do with what I've got. Also, if you notice, I have grass and I'm in shorts. This was actually filmed quite a while back. I just had some creative blocks, among other things. Okay. Okay, so this is after, I should have gotten it better before, but this is after 60 grit. And I need to use 60 grit because the cedar pickets have all that fuzz and stuff. So 60 grit, that also helped me mostly smooth out like the ridges between the boards and getting glue. You can see here, it's not really very flat, but you know, it's going on top of a, it's gonna be like glued down, so it'll be okay. So, 60 grit. I was thinking I was gonna, do you need help?
I got it.
You might kill that spider before we take it inside.
What spider?
The one on the thing. Right there, hanging by your foot.
Okay.
We need to clean that off.
See?
Okay, here's 60 grit.
That was clean.
And I'm leaving this whole thing in the video. You are filthy. What happened?
Do you want to see the amount of dust over there?
No, we live in a very dirty area. There's a lot of dirt that blows constantly. Okay, so 60 grit. Next is 80 grit. Okay, so this is after 80 grit. And this is where it's smooth. And you can really start to see what it'll look like. I had really thought about staining it. Like originally when I was doing this, I was like, oh, I'll probably stain it. But I'm kind of thinking, like I know they don't all match. This one's much lighter. It's funny, these two are pretty light. But I'm kind of thinking that that would look really pretty. Just sanded down really smooth with the top coat. So I think I'll probably end up doing that. Alright. It is time for a break though, because my workstation is in the sun. And this is after 120 grit. It is nice and smooth. And the edges for the most part are flat, like you don't notice like the transition between boards. So to attach the top, I did put glue down. Like this is glued down. I did a lot of measuring to make sure it was, you know, centered and all that stuff, which apparently I didn't record. But as of right now, like I put a lot of glue down and then put a lot of weights and stuff to hold it down. Once the glue dried, I'm also going to put in some dowels on the corner. So I put tape down. I drilled like a pilot hole kind of before my really big drill bit. I was trying to reduce tear out. It worked okay. Much more aggressive bit, so, or much bigger bit, so it's a bit more aggressive. And I just wanted to hopefully reduce tear out as much as possible. And then I'm going to glue in my little dowel that I've already cut.
It's also funny to rewatch this and do the voiceover for this part because it is currently really cold here. Not really if you live in places that are colder, but for us it's cold. And I had glue everywhere. And I couldn't, there was too much glue. So I just went and got my mallet and started knocking the dowel in. And then I get a board just to make sure it gets in all the way. And I'll clean up the glue, take off the tape, and let that dry. Now you can see here, I still got a little bit of tear out from the drill bit. It is what it is. And then I'm just going to cut them down. And I'm using sandpaper because it was handy. And just using that to try to help prevent teeth marks from, gouging the wood. I do go back and fill the holes and use some wood filler to clean that up. And re-sand before moving on to the next step.
Here's where we are. Everything's been sanded up to 120. I even did the edges, broke the edges with sandpaper where you just go over just a little bit. And I've taped off around the edge, although the whole thing's been sealed, so I think I should, as long as I pay attention, I'll be able to get the paint off. I have a water bottle, I have a mister. I have my paint color, which is just a very light grayish, brownish, whitish color, to go over the whole thing. And a towel to wipe it back. And this was a mist tint, or $2 return, whatever, from, I don't know, a store that sells paint. I could go look at the container, but I'm not gonna. Okay. And I think we're ready. Okay, so let's get started.
So, to do a paint wash this way, you just spray a lot of water on the wood directly, or, whatever you're washing. You wet the surface and the brush. The brush was wet too. And then put the paint down and then wipe it back. And just keep doing that until you get the look you want. And this day actually wasn't too warm, so it was actually nice to do a paint wash because sometimes my paint dries too quick. But I like doing this way because I do have fewer problems with the paint drying too fast. So I go over the whole thing. Doing it this way, covering the areas, you let it sit for a moment and then wipe it away. And then just keep going until you get the look that you like.
Okay, so I did 2 coats, I guess. Probably be better if I had better lighting. Not in the shade. And this is where we are. I like it. There's still the grain and the variation toned down a little bit. I think it looks really good. And okay. Now I just have to let it dry.
This is it dry and after a very light sanding of 220 grit sandpaper by hand.
Okay. I decided to use this, I don't know why I flipped it over, this stencil from Dixie Belle. I bought it off Etsy. And I at first was going to use the original color of the blue color, and then I was like, what if I did the same color that I did the paint wash, right? And I kind of went back and forth on this, because it was like, if I use this, it's going to show, that the top isn't very straight, because, it's straight, it's just not perfectly square. If I use something with straight lines, it'll show And then I was like, whatever. Shirt is overrated, right? So I can put this, and I'm going to start in the middle-ish. I'm not measuring. But this is the center board, and this is the center line, so I'm just going to line it up in the center there, and it just occurred to me I might want to kind of center it that way in the middle here too, so when I move outward instead of going across. Okay, that I do need to measure real quick. Okay, it's 48 and a half, so I need 24 and a fourth about to center it. Let me go spray it first. Okay, that's center. There's some dog hair already on this. Makes me laugh. There. There-ish. Okay, I'll let go. And then move this over just to make sure it's about the same. Well, now I'm all worried. Okay. Also, keep in mind, I haven't sealed the wood. So, and I'm not going for full coverage, more like subtle coverage. I think it'll be pretty.
So I just continued with this. For stenciling, you want a pretty stiff bristle brush. That's what I find works best for me. And I use a spray adhesive on the back, like I said. Put some paint down, but then you want to offload it so it doesn't build up as much around the edges. And then the spray adhesive is going to help keep it from getting under the edges. So it helps give it a little bit cleaner look. And I like it. And to line this up to make sure my stencil stays mostly straight, I'm just using the check part of that. I'm lining my stencil up with those so that it will be continuous. Because if I just lined the other edge up, you would have had 2 lines of the checks, and that wouldn't have worked. So you line that up, and then the pattern will continue. And you do have to pay attention to which direction you put this so that the, checked part actually lines up in the same direction. And after that dried completely, I gave it a light sanding with 220. Actually, I think it was higher grit. A fine grit sandpaper to smooth out the stencil. And then it was time to top coat using this triple thick polyurethane. I have started using a mister bottle. My back is hurting. I've started using a mister bottle to help me with my top coat because it's very dry where I live. So I've had problems with the top coat drying before I could, finish a section, and then where I'm trying to overlap sections, I get drag marks. So the mister bottle with a very light mist has helped get rid of that. And it helps slow the dry time, which has been really helpful
to get a nicer top coat. I did finish this, let it dry. You do a light, like a fine grit sand in between, clean that off, and then put another coat. I know I did at least 2, but I may have done a third because, again, this was a coffee table, and they definitely need extra protection. And this is a satin finish, so it won't be shiny when I'm done. And while I've got you, if you don't mind liking, sharing, subscribing so you can get more of this content, it sure does help me out, and I appreciate it. Poor Ollie. Poor Ollie just got put in his kennel. Poor baby. I'm leaving that in. Okay, so that.
What? Scene 2, take 2.
That is my coffee table, and it's already been claimed. And as soon as I'd finished putting the top coat on, I was watching my nephew and nieces, and like I just finished the top coat. So when they came in, I was like, "Don't touch it! Don't touch it! It's wet." And they listened, which they're still young enough that sometimes they're like, "Is it now?" Boop. They walked in, and then my sister-in-law walked in and started to touch it, and they were like, "No!" And she was like, "I want it." So, it has already been claimed. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. Does the top go with the rest of it? How does it fit? What do you think about the stencil? The light colors. I like the stencil. You're not going to convince me that the stencil wasn't a good choice. But what do you think about the light colored stencil on the top? I feel like it looks really good. Should I have gone with something darker? Let me know. Just down below. And then stay tuned. My daughter is sitting here trying to make me crazy. Stay tuned.
Hi.
Stay tuned to find out what Heather does next time.